It was Jigoku, your Japanese acquaintance, who killed Asogi in the end, you see.
Yeah, but under your command.
He claimed to be the man's friend, but when push came to shove, he pulled the trigger. Just before Mr. Jigoku left the courtroom earlier, he said that the assassin exchange proposal was a demand from his British counterpart, not a request. Shitty said suddenly windy old bag.
So you coerced him too, using what happened in the graveyard.
By that time, Jigoku was a minister of foreign affairs, negotiating international treaties with Britain.
Yeah,
You
that was the Wendy Oldbeck cameo of the series.
You can imagine what would have happened if it came to light he murdered a compatriot 10 years earlier. He would have lost everything. I merely reminded him of that.
How do you sleep at night?
Easily. These past 10 years, I fought tirelessly with the darker recesses of London's criminal underworld. And I have used whatever means necessary to ensure that justice prevails and law and order reigns supreme. And I sleep with my Hatsune Miku pillow.
Body pillow.
That couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, you haven't fought crime at all.
Hatsune Miku hasn't been invented yet.
How dare you? I saved Clint Van Zeeks from the dishonor and his death. Shady said he kills sheep in his dreams. 1, 2, 3.
Well, no, he has somebody kill the sheep under his command.
Yeah.
Whilst behind the scenes, you systematically buried anyone who stood in your way. And then you made my father take the blame.
It was unavoidable. It was the only way to protect our justice system and public order.
Let's not forget the others you killed as well.
Shitty said Jigoku's killing sheep in his dreams.
Setting the defendant up as the Reaper to cover up the truth behind the murders of countless more.
That's enough! Do you have any idea of the conniving that led to the acquittals of these wretched criminals? We had to fight fire with fire, or our courts cannot function without a Reaper. Can't you see all I've done for this country? This has been my struggle.
That's the symbology behind the fires in the scales. Fight fire with fire. You've done nothing. It's Lord Van Zeeks here who worked tirelessly and justly in court, while enduring the disgrace of the Reaper name.
Inspector Gregson, fraught with anguish for having sullied his hands with the desire to do the right thing. Not to mention Genshin Asogi, who risked his life going in pursuit of the truth he tried to hide. No, the darker recesses of London's underworld were largely filled by you. You little! When will you get it through your thick skulls?
That it was all for Queen and country? I'm tiring of that excuse. You've consistently twisted the truth for bargaining power to make others do your bidding. Nothing more.
People who willingly twist the truth and coerce others have no right to call themselves part of the judiciary. I strongly suggest you don't ever talk of justice again. Grrr. Grrr. Grrr.
They should have had the doves fall into the flames. Clap.
Well, well, well. Dear me, my good fellows, dear me. A well-deserved round of applause, I think, for a quite marvelous performance. Remember, Damon Gant did the same thing.
Yeah, he started clapping.
What are you talking about? Those delightfully grave expressions, that beautifully pronounced Queen's English. Really, our friends from the Far East are quite the picture of industriousness.
Oh my gosh. You fraud! Keep your mockery! Oh,
Please, don't misunderstand. It really is exactly as you've both said.
What are you trying to say?
He said I love the evil bastard for it. Clapping. I have occupied the darker recesses of London's underworld and, how did you put it? Done nothing. I confess it's a little embarrassing to have pointed out so starkly, but yes, I really have done nothing, which means I can be indicted for nothing. No. What? It's true. Personally, I've committed no crime. I've merely been surrounded by fools who've acted very rashly indeed. You can't get away with that. You're consistently preying on people's weaknesses. And what? Threaten them? Are you sure it wasn't just bargaining? I would like to address all the good lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the judiciary here present. You all know of these darker recesses in our great capital, and deep down I believe you also know that to fight those who dwell there requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. So says I, Riku. So let me appeal to your good sense now. I smell darkness. Consider the situation with me.
He's stinky. What do you think darkness smells like?
Lavender.
Oh, I like darkness.
There's this catalog of horrifying revelations. Lavender
me
and
headaches,
iron were to become common knowledge among the 6 million inhabitants of London. What might happen? To learn that the infamous murderer of royals and nobles, who was a respected member of the aristocracy himself, that evidence was fabricated as a scapegoat's trial amid secret negotiations with prosecutors to effect a jailbreak. That the Reaper of the Bailey was an organized group of assassins managed by a Scotland Yard inspector. And finally, that it was all masterminded by the Lord Chief Justice himself.
If the general public of Britain knew the truth, all faith in the police and the prosecution's office would be completely lost, without doubt. Public order in the capital would completely break down. We'd be cast back to the lawless days of the last century.
Precisely, as it was 100 years ago when 1 in 10 of the population were criminals. Think what we've accomplished since then. A public policing force, a comprehensive set of laws. And if we want to continue to protect this new era of law and order, I say again, we must at times occupy the darkness ourselves. We have successfully identified and apprehended the man responsible for taking Inspector Gregson's life. That is all that was expected of this trial. All these other matters that have been discussed will be eliminated from the minutes of these proceedings in the interest of preserving law and order. And to protect Her Majesty the Queen, of course. Well, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen, what say you?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny the Queen objects right now.
He has a point.
The thing Lord Strongheart has done is quite unforgivable.
But on the other hand,
It's in our duty to maintain the law and order in the capital.
I can't deny the threat of the Reaper over the years has been wonders for the crime rate.
And by fair means of foul, it's all thanks to Lord Strongheart.
Are you hearing this?
This is the will of the British judiciary.
For your rousing response, friends, I express my heartfelt gratitude. He rolled a nat 20 there on his charisma persuasion check. Therefore, in accordance with the overwhelming wishes of the court, the record shall be erased. You have to respect the man's ability to turn a situation to his favor. Lord Strongheart really is a master of manipulation. Shady said he already has a 12 plus 12 to his modifier.
You've conclusively proven his guilt. Yet he still manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do. Brunosuke.
It looks like the trial really is going to come to an end now. I'm almost out of options, I think. There's really only one path left open to me.
Save. But pull on the bunny's ear again.
So,
Use evidence. The bunny's ear. Herlock! They're making fun of me! Come on.
yes, as I know only too well, the only thing that carries any weight in court is that hard evidence.
But it's Naruto! What evidence is there to use at this stage in the trial?
I have an idea. I don't know whether anything will come of it, but if there was ever a time for using this particular item we have among the evidence, it's now.
The armband!
The armband?
No!
What?
The earpiece.
Hairlock?
Oh my, yes! Mr. Shum asked if you had that with you earlier.
You've exposed all of Lord Strongheart's wrongdoing now. I've no doubt that Mr. Sholmes already deduced exactly how the truth will unfurl. So I think it must be time for the great detective to take center stage, don't you?
This is a new variant of this theme. Yes, absolutely. Let's take the hair by the ears then, and heave!
Alright, here goes. Heave!
Not that strongly. Ow, 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 ow! My dear fellows, I must remind you every time, a gentle tug would suffice.
Mr. Sholmes.
You're looking in quite the wrong direction, Mr. Naruto. Because I'm over here. Ah, Mr. Naruto, he's...
It's Mr. Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes! Oh, it's so funny. Hatsune Miku, eat your heart out.
I was expecting you back, Sholmes.
Delighted to be here, Lord Strongheart. They can't get the audio.
Oh, just do it.
Oh, delighted to be here, Lord Strongheart.
What is the meaning of this? Bailiff, seize him. Put that man in irons. This is a closed court. You've been warned already, man. What the? We can't get hold of him, my lord. We just go right through him.
Oh, Vogue. Yes, yes. yes
Shady says
yes.
Sholmes with hologram technology too. I love his dance.
Sorry, it's good.
Yeah, I want to learn the dance.
You see, we gotta learn to dance and do it. Twist and a heave and a hook and a macarena and a flip and a. The great detective you see before you is composed entirely of light and shadow, an image, if you will. Mr. Naruto, I must congratulate you on your fine deduction.
Mr. Sholmes, what on earth is...
Are you familiar, I wonder, with the invention known as the telephone?
Well, yes. I heard that some public telephones have been installed recently in Tokyo.
The sound of the speaker's voice is converted to an electrical signal and transmitted instantly to another place. Quite. Sounds are transmitted. So, could not images keep them company, I'm mused. I originally did some modest experimentation to develop such a device specifically for this very day.
They managed to invent hologram telephones. Holographic video calls. We don't even have that yet in the present.
Modest experimentation, Mr. Jones. What a modest description. And somewhat incidentally, I thought we might just as well transmit an entire scene.
Somewhat incidentally, Mr. Sholmes. Now you're just being immodest. People just say you're actually here, Sholmes.
Ah, I knew my trusty partner would have no trouble grasping the concept.
Yeah, Dragon OP. Except he's grasping the stand to steady himself after your shock arrival.
Full father, I would have hoped we might have been forewarned, being the great detective's great partner.
Leave my courtroom at once. Get out, or I swear to you.
Dear me. You, on the other hand, Lord Strongheart, appear to have a very poor grasp of the situation. Allow me to reiterate, I am not here, which would I hope lead naturally to one asking. Where exactly are you? The very question I was waiting! I am at present enjoying the air in a rather splendid garden.
A garden?
Not just any garden, you understand? A garden at Buckingham Palace.
What? You can't be. Buckingham Palace? Which Buckingham Palace, Mrs. Otter? I never heard of it.
Do you ever read the news, Mr. Naruto?
Mr. Shams?
I just love the idea.
Is Iris
of her,
with you there?
Voguing, like in front of the queen. The queen is just vibing too. She's like, eh.
Well now, Iris is currently enjoying some tea. With Her Majesty.
Her Majesty?
Not just any Her Majesty, you understand. Her Majesty, the Queen of the British Empire.
What? What? What on earth is all this about?
Buckingham Palace is Her Majesty's Queen's residence in London, Mr. Naruto.
Order in court. I demand immediate silence. Her Majesty the Queen. You can't be. I mean, no. This is some sort of unforgivable, distasteful trickery by a third-rate detective, that's all.
Unforgivable, distasteful trickery. What an apt description. A closed court session attended by elite members of the judiciary is a rare event. I presumed that Her Majesty would be more a little curious about the proceedings. So I decided to show her everything from start to finish.
Huh? You showed her?
Indeed. By dint of the Herlock Show's remote cinematograph.
You meddling.
And you down. This is some kind of nightmare. Just so I appear to be standing before you, regaling you with talk of my latest invention. No doubt you've inferred that the reverse is also true. You don't mean... Her Majesty has seen and heard every moment of the proceeding. I assume there would be no objections after all. Every trial in this country is conducted under the auspices of Her Majesty, you know.
You...
I confess I'm quite impatient to hear Her Majesty's opinion about the unforgivably distasteful trickery in which you've engaged over the past 10 years.
No, I was merely...
Oh, so sorry to keep you all waiting. Vicky and I had so much to talk about.
Iris, there you are.
In fact, I have a little message here from the Queen, Her Majesty.
A message?
Well then, if everybody's sitting comfortably...
Forthwith and with immediate effect, authority previously afforded to male Strongheart is hereby revoked forevermore.
Ah,
Furthermore, he will be prosecuted for crimes against his country in a public trial by jury in the coming days.
So, it seems that Her Majesty doesn't believe we need to fight fire with fire. Justice in this country needn't be administered from the shadows at all.
Dragon's the GG queen. Mel Strongheart. The darkness you fostered to conceal your despicable actions these last 10 years is a thing of the past now.
You're giving me...
After today, your brand of law and order has no future. because no longer are you the Lord Chief Justice. In the eyes of the law and of Her Majesty the Queen, you are nothing but a criminal. Adjourned! 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 Court is adjourned!
Break it. Oh, I wanted him to break the podium. Oh! I got a break too? Oh! 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 The entire court could catch on fire! No! No! Ah! Ah!
Ah! Burned alive. We don't need a trial now.
We don't need a trial. He was immolated.
Shit, you thought that was gonna fall on him?
That's so
It's
funny.
like probably it's like the most over the top one yet of this franchise.
That's so funny.
Lord Clint Van Zeeks left a will in which he confessed to everything.
He's so singed. That's hilarious.
When the words came out of Asogi's mouth, it deranged me completely. I knew I must do anything and everything in my power to contain the situation. But I couldn't find the damn document. I searched his cell, but it wasn't there.
Which precipitated the jailbreak plot, I presume.
What do you mean? The need to obtain that will was all-consuming. I was sure that if I facilitated Asogi's escape, he would emerge with the will somewhere on his person. But despite searching his limp body in the cemetery that night, it still eluded me. It never even crossed my mind that I was concealed in the sword's hilt.
Technically, it's the butt.
Sorry, in the butt.
I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't be talking right now. I'll go back to my seat. Just clap, clap, clap.
I like to think that was just some random person.
Yeah. It's the guy who kept shouting my leg the entire time. What pains me now is that my brother left this world without a word to me.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zeeks.
In point of fact, I think perhaps that isn't the case.
Sorry?
How could that be?
I don't know, Dragon. I think Strongar had enough setup. There was a lot of implications. He was kind of a little too extreme.
There's more to his last will and testament.
Wrong button.
What?
As I confront the prospect of my demise, I feel bitter for my young brother. Baroque, you have always looked up to me, and now you follow in my footsteps to become a prosecutor. It is my fervent wish that my unspeakable deeds should not hinder your advancement. I ask not for understanding, for none could understand my depravity. I ask only for forgiveness. God, he acts like he was a complete psychopath. I mean, he killed people, but like...
Asogi's a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final two wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I've confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint Van Zeeks. Clint.
Even Sholmes looks respectful, for once. Man Strongheart, you colluded with Shishio Jigoku in a criminal plot so immense it spanned the oceans. You cold-heartedly murdered all those who knew the truth about what happened 10 years ago. But why did you set about that now, a whole decade later? To ascend to the very peak. These last 10 years made me realize being the Lord Chief Justice wasn't enough. Short of becoming Her Majesty's Attorney General, I could have no real power to effect the changes needed in this country. And for that promotion, I needed to ensure no remnants of the past remained.
How could you?
I like everything to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe, like a well-oiled machine. And I was just a step away.
And for your ambitions to succeed, did you even bother to count the number of brilliant people you had killed? Ah, Mr. Reaper, are you not forgetting something? Such as...
Isn't it kind of disrespectful to call him the Reaper at this point?
You've very much adopted your usual prosecutor-like demeanor in the proceedings now. But the reality of the situation is that you are the defendant in this trial. However, the presiding judge would appear to have fallen from the bench, as it were.
You were sad that he was gone, so here you go.
Ah! Ah, my boy! My boy came back! Ah. As for you, my boy! May I suggest, therefore, that we entrust the final adjudication to an old friend? My lord!
As a member of the judiciary, I have been following the proceedings from the gallery. And I must say, I shan't ever forget the extraordinary battle between good and evil that I witnessed here today.
Oh, that's so pleasant to hear.
The darkness that has blighted justice in our land these past 10 years has at last been dispelled. Thanks, in no small part, to the efforts of a bright young star from the East. Defense Counsel Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. On behalf of everyone here present in the Old Bailey, I give you my heartfelt thanks. You're too kind, my lord.
For the first time I faced you in court just under a year ago now, I had the faintest of intimidations that if British justice so warped and twisted history was finally to now change, to no change, this might just be the man to do it.
What?
But at the time, I wouldn't allow myself to acknowledge the possibility. I couldn't overcome my hatred of the Japanese after the circumstances of my brother's death. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me to apologize for countless discourtesies on my part. You are a lawyer of boundless talent.
Oh, Lord Von Sakes!
When I first arrived in Great Britain, I was literally a nobody. Certainly not a lawyer. The truth is, my fortunes have entirely been made by the miraculous people I've met. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who led me here to Britain in the first place. My loyal and ever-patient judicial assistant, Mr. Zado, who helped me study to become a lawyer. The brilliant Lord Van Zeeks, who never failed to challenge his Nipponese rival.
AKA racist.
And not to mention, the exceptional master of logic and reasoning, who showed me the true art of deduction, Mr. Shones.
Iris Wilson.
I don't know. I really hoped and wished that he was about to say the judge there when I played it.
Saving the best for last. What a relief.
I'm well aware that without all these people's help and support, I wouldn't be where I am today. The truth is a guiding light that always leads to happiness. I've lived by that principle for a long time now, But actually, it's not true.
Hmm.
The truth can also cause great pain, sometimes even leave people on the brink of despair.
And for that reason, there are those who feel the need to hide the truth, who do it instinctively.
But as soon as we allow our eyes to settle on something other than truth, the darkness takes hold. And from there it grows, until eventually it makes us blind to the guiding light of the truth altogether. So that's why it's my belief that we must all resolve never to avert our eyes from what is just and true.
Roll credits.
Man, remember the entire story of that resolve until then. So that we can continue to walk the straight, narrow path ahead.
Well, I must excuse myself now. But before I go, Miss Naruto, let me compliment you on your grand opus.
What?
Without your beautifully composed case against Lord Strongheart, Majesty would have been unable to act. Thanks to you and your fellows, the haunting undertones obstructing the British justice system have been silent.
Thank you very much.
So, until our paths cross again somewhere.
You gotta go home.
Well then, it would appear that this long trial has finally come to an end.
My apologies for any anxiety caused, my lord.
I'm quite sure we shall meet again here in the courtroom before long, Prosecutor Baroque von Zeeks. In conclusion of these proceedings, I hereby declare the defendant, Baroque von Zeeks, not guilty. Confet. A single
It's
confet.
a me, confet.
Confederacy.
No! Cursed.
It's a government system centered around confetti. That is all. The court is adjourned.
Oi, 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 oi.
It really is all over. But did I sacrifice too much?
Mr. Naruto, I really must congratulate you. It was truly splendid performance. Honestly, I couldn't be happier for you.
Oh, thank you very much. But I really couldn't have done it without you at my side through it all, Mrs. Adder.
Oh! Your kind words mean so much to me.
It really was a splendid show without Naruto. If you thought you'd been smiling ear to ear, but you look rather glum. Well, of course I'm delighted about the verdict. But in exposing the truth, I'm afraid I've caused my client a great deal of pain. I'm really not sure that's what a lawyer ought to be doing.
Oh, well, in that case, I'm quite sure that when you see Lord Von Zeek's smiling face, everything will seem much better.
I like that even it's not even like a slow shift, it's just there. Mrs. Adder, everything seems worse. He has a face like thunder.
I was gonna say, I don't know if his model even has the ability to smile. I don't think they wired that part of the model.
Oh dear, I really shouldn't have presumed. Mr. Naruhodo,
Yes?
almost a year it's been now since I first encountered you in this very courthouse. For you to have risen to the level of excellence you demonstrated today, well, it's quite remarkable.
But I... I exposed the most unpalatable truth you could have imagined to court today. I feel as though I've robbed you of something you held so dear.
What was it he said? To fight those who dwell in the darkness requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. That was just a feeble excuse of a coward. Only those with a steadfast eye for the truth have what it takes to fight the dark forces of crime. You made fine work of establishing that fact in court today.
Oh. Well, thank you.
What magnanimous words! Quite sure that Kazuma would have a smile on his face at this very moment we're here.
Kazuma. Nobody smile.
I mean, I've seen him smile.
Mrs. Addo. There's another face like thunder here.
Oh my, and he really was here.
Lord Von Zeeks, allow me to congratulate you on your acquittal. Congratulate me. Curse me. You failed to bring down the Reaper.
I'm... not really. He wasn't the Reaper.
I owe you an apology. No, it is I who should apologize. Your father, Genshin. If I had been stronger, then perhaps. I made an unfortunate error of judgment. I can offer no excuse.
Unforgivable, even.
What did I say?
Unfortunate.
Unforgivable. And I can offer no forgiveness. That said, I suppose you fought for justice and the truth. But that at least I can't withhold respect. Your words mean more to me than you could know. I will hold them dear.
Kazuma-sama.
I must say, there's one thing that's still bothering me.
What's that?
The will that Lord Clint Van Six wrote before his duel with my father.
Sogi is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final two wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint Van Zeeks.
Esquire. Can the second of his final wishes have been? That your father agreed to honor, you mean?
I think perhaps.
Perhaps.
No. I think perhaps I may be able to send some light on that. What?
Father.
It was 10 years ago, you know, the day before the execution was scheduled. I went to the prison to say my farewells to Johnson. Why aren't you putting up more of a fight, Johnson? If you'd only agree to it, Shiro and I would gladly petition the government.
We've been through this already. You don't need to worry about me. Anyway, Eugen, I have a favor to ask of you. Something of great importance.
You're one of my greatest friends, Johnson. Whatever it is,
Identical.
consider it done. What?
He's wearing the same exact clothes. He looks identical to like 10
He only
years
has
ago.
one suit. He only has one look in Europe.
I'm going to tell you an address. I need you to at once, in secret, and telling no one. You should find a lady of the gentry hiding in hiding there.
A lady of the gentry.
She's not in a good way. She's with child. The birth is imminent. As a medical man, I'd like you to attend to her. Please, your only hope.
By any chance, the child yours, Johnson?
Don't be daft. It's a favor that was asked of me by a man I knew, as his dying wish.
My goodness.
I swore to the man that I would help. That I would do whatever I could for his wife and his child. But if something should happen to me,
You think so, Shady?
I need to ask you the same favor. You're the only person I know I can truly rely on.
What did you say? If something should happen to you. Tomorrow night you're going to be...
You never know, though, do you? What life will bring.
Alright then, tell me the address. I'll head there once. With Toshiro and...
No, not with him.
Pardon?
This is a favor I'm asking of you. And only you, Eugen.
Right, I see. Very well then. Really, Shady?
Bam, 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 bam.
That very night I caught a train from Paddington to Dartmoor in Devon.
Paddington Bear.
I found the old house in the middle of nowhere woods. A old hunting hound lay asleep on the grounds. The poor woman was on the floor at the back of a darkened room. She was in mortal danger. Is that Mary Ann from Fire Emblem 3 houses? I broke her waters to precipitate the labor before she weakened further. It was a torturous birth. I did everything humanly possible for her and her child.
Reach for my hand.
And in the end, I was lucky enough to welcome a new life into the world. But tragically, my efforts to save the mother's life were in vain. I held the healthy newborn girl in my arms and wept for longer than I care to remember. Eventually, in something of a daze, I looked away around the room. Okay, Shady. There was a precious little in it, but an old travel trunk caught my eye. It had clearly been well looked after over the years. Made of top quality leather with fine stitching. But it was when I saw the emblem on the side of it that everything dropped into place. B for Baskerville.
Baskerville.
You mean the woman who's the wife of Lord Clint Van Zeeks? That's right. The newborn was his daughter.
But that makes no sense. Why on earth wouldn't Clint have entrusted me to the child? Why on earth wouldn't Clint have entrusted the child to my care in that case? I was completely unaware that he even had a daughter.
I suppose he didn't really have any choice.
What?
Well, your brother said that he'd confessed everything to his wife, so she must have been beside herself with worry for her child. If the true identity of the professor were ever to be made public, the girl would be forever branded as the daughter of the infamous mass murderer.
Ah. So the only solution was to distance a young girl from the Van Zeek family as much as possible. I don't believe it.
I imagine that final hour, Lord Clint Van Zeeks made the obvious choice. He would have thought to himself, this Japanese man here is someone I can trust. I honored my promise to Genshin, of course. However, only a month later, I was summoned back to Japan, and without disclosing the parentage of the child, I couldn't obtain permission to take her with me.
Oh, how awful.
I was completely at a loss. In the end, I had to ask my great friend. I asked him if he would be a father to her. That being Mr. Sholmes, I presume.
I mean, yeah, they're more like roommates.
Yeah, yes. Took one look into my eyes and agreed to it on the spot.
And they were roommates.
Mr. Sholmes, he has a heart of gold.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
Really, all can be said I did for the child was to give her a name. Oh? When I come to Britain, I was trying to escape from the grief of losing my darling wife. But it was her name that I gave the little girl. Your wife's name, Professor Mikotoba. In other words...
The name of my mother. Ayame Mikotoba. Oh!
That's right, Ayame. Or in English, Iris. Iris. Also, I want to point out there's 2 Irises in Ace Attorney. Just saying.
Who's the other Iris?
Dahlia Hawthorne's twin sister. The good twin.
Oh, okay.
Phoenix
had no
Wright's
idea.
ex. Ouch!
Mr. Naruto, what's wrong?
This little thing just pinched me in the behind through my trouser pocket. Hard.
Oh, my dear fellow, can you hear me?
Mr. Sholmes, is that you?
He's still voguing.
Ow! Yes, we can hear you.
You see what excessive tugging can do? Let that be a lesson to you.
Oh, you forgot there were 2 Irises, Dragon?
Mr. Sholmes, we weren't able to thank you properly before, but you were simply marvelous. Your checkmate move was a stroke of genius. Indeed it was, wasn't it? I surpassed myself, I feel. It became apparent to me that to stop Lord Chief Justice, the Lord Chief Injustice, would require such measures.
Bruno! Susie!
Oh, Iris.
Oh,
I'm so pleased. What a wonderful outcome. Her Majesty Queen Vicky said she thought my special blend was delicious.
Also, Shady, no, she didn't tell her Dr. Wilson was her father. She tried to deduce that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure she did. After all, no one brews more delicious tea than you do, Iris.
Let's have a party to celebrate. And Mr. Ripper, you simply must come too.
I'm afraid I couldn't.
The Reaperth Bailey, flustered by a 10-year-old girl. Again.
Yeah, flustered by, like, his last living relative that he didn't know existed. Like, yeah, he's allowed EQ
Not
negative
not
a
just
million.
last living relative they didn't know exist, but also that supposedly he can't tell that he's her relative.
Terrible.
No, really?
Oh, pooh. But I give you my word that I shall present myself at your residence in the near future to express my gratitude.
Oh, how lovely. You promise now, I won't let you forget. Bye for now then.
Alright, Iris, thank you for your help earlier. I'm hanging up now.
Oh, that was nothing. Just come back up soon. On it, and you can't actually hang up. It doesn't have a hang up function.
Ugh. One final pitch goodbye, was it? Didn't who threaten her? Who, Shady?
Well, I think I ought to be leaving. Lord Van Zeeks, would you care to accompany me?
Didn't Baroque threaten who?
Certainly. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me to once again express my deep gratitude to you.
I don't think he ever threatened Iris.
I believe you saved my life.
Wait, Lord Van Zeeks.
Yes.
What are you intending to do now?
Well, clearly I shall have to resign from the prosecutor's office.
Oh no.
I intend to publicize the full truth about the Professor case. Once that's done, the Von Zieg's family will be ostracized completely from London society.
Surely not.
So as soon as I am free from my employment, I shall leave the capital.
Oh, I see. Okay, bye.
Don't be a fool.
No, don't be a fool. Are those the actions of a man once mighty Reaper of the Bailey? Beg your pardon. For the past 10 years, you've endured that pseudonym and have been cast as one of the Dark Forces yourself. Now that you've finally been freed of that disrepute, your battle is just beginning, surely. Well, I certainly never expected to hear those words from your lips. I've waited very long indeed to come to London. Now I'm properly here, I intend to learn all that I can. Anyway, goodbye for now, Widowski Naruto.
Kazuma Soki. I won't say bye to him. It seems as though he's really matured suddenly.
He's not the only one who's matured, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, thank you for noticing.
Well, I think we should make our way back to Baker Street. We must help Iris with tonight's dinner.
We must. It was then that I came to an important decision about my future.